Live streaming is on.
Cool. So does that look like it's live to anybody? Sorry, thank you for your patience while we get started.
Oh, yep, and it's live on the dashboard. I haven't set my feed. It's private. Stream is private. Oh no, it says it's still hasn't been started for me. Oh, this one is not actually that one though. So the stream that's been started is not the Koha documentation live stream, it's a different one.
So can we go, maybe we can
It's private, yeah, I can make it not private. So make it unlisted or public.
I'll just go
And so,
maybe it will show up.
yes, I can see it now. It's called Kohacon20 test. I will change the description.
Oh, so I've put in the wrong key. Never mind.
That's
So we're
okay.
streaming now.
It's
Instead of
streaming,
different
and
place.
I've made it a good name, and now it's public. So hopefully,
Do you want to delete the other
yeah.
streams just so that there's like
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Right, well, we'll get started. Only 10 minutes, 15 minutes late, but right. So I'm very happy to have some people online with us, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in the room. So I was really excited, glad that you could be here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen first, and then we are going to I will share everything. Yep. And then the people in the room can see it, and hopefully everyone out in the world can see that okay. So
Yep, we can see it.
and hopefully it's reasonably clear. And right. So the agenda for the workshop today is I wanted to show you how to get set up, and there may be some silences as I go around the room and help the people in the room, and feel free to ask questions. We can hear you. I'm not using a microphone, so just what's on my laptop, so you might not be able to pick up what other people were asking. So what we're going to, and I should probably paste this into the chat so that people can know where to start from, because there's some links on here. And then we'll get started. So has anyone here edited the manual before? So I know Carolyn online. So online Carolyn has, and has anyone else there done that before?
I remember adding a bug so that someone else could do it.
So someone's added a bug in Bugzilla for us so that we could track that. And so everyone here in the room is new. We've got Carolyn online, and we've got Marie Luce, if I say your name right this time, and they're both on the documentation team. So that's great that you could. I'm not sure what time it is in Canada, but yeah, thank you for taking the time out of your evening. Cool. So the easiest way is to use the browser to edit the manual. So I'm going to walk you through that. And so now all of these instructions that I'm going to go through are in this nice page called Editing the Koha Manual. And so the first thing people need is a GitLab account. So does everyone have a GitLab account?
Oh, I must do, because I've had a electrical one.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Actually, no.
That's a secret.
Why don't you try log
Yeah. So what you need to do, so I've already got an account and I'm not going to create another one. So for those that don't have an account, if you go to gitlab.com And that's if you want to do it as we go. I'm quite, unless people would prefer me to just walk through it and then you have a play, or should we just do it as we go?
I'll try and do it, yeah, but don't wait for me.
Cool. So what we're going to do for people out in the audience, we're going to make sure everyone's got a GitLab account, and then we'll go from there. So it might be a bit quiet here while we do that.
No problem.
Yeah. And then that's the starting point, because you need to, we need to do the next steps after that.
Do you have IRC open, David? I'm just wondering if I can get the link for that page.
Oh, right. Yes.
Or is it on the website?
So I've put it on the workshop page.
Go to the program, go to David's workshop.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so you got that. Yep. Yep. So it shouldn't take too long to set up a page. Account.
My little parking meters on
Oh, you can. I should probably have sent out some instructions at the start to say do this. Assume you've got good bank account.
I don't think it.
So it would be useful for people to go to this page, editing the Koha manual. So if you haven't already, and a Google search should bring it up, but you never know.
It's the first result that you search in the Kohacon.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. And for those, I think the chat is on in the YouTube video, but I can't see the comments, so my apologies. I can only do one thing at once because I'm just a mere male. Yeah, I'll just make that. Yeah. So Carolyn's planning on doing something over the 2-day working together. So is that still the case, Carolyn, or are you?
Sorry, yes, but it's not the getting started thing, so I wanted to let you have that part.
Cool. Okay, thanks.
You search Kohacon, get that.
Yeah. So for those who, how are we going with accounts here? You're all right? And how about?
I don't know. Maybe I should watch someone else. Oh, I've got my account.
Okay, cool. Well, no, that's what we wanted. So we can go from there. So the next step is to find the Koha manual project. Now, if you've got the editing the wiki page open, there's a link to it here. So, and you should get to the Koha. So has everyone got that page up and available? Yeah. So, yeah. So for those who have used GitLab before and it's not foreign, or use GitHub, then this is probably seems quite straightforward. But for those who have never seen a code repository, and it's going to feel a bit weird. But basically everything for the manual sits in a repository that lets us do version control, so that we can keep track of what's changed and yeah, have good version control, and so that all the different versions of the manual can be produced at one time. Well, at some stage.
Another cool thing about version control is that you can make errors and they can be scaled back. So don't be afraid.
Yeah, cool. So if you've got the Koha manual, then we're just going to fork it. So there's a button here saying fork, and I'm not going to click it because I have already done it, and I probably should have set up a test account. But that will create it. If you click on that button, it will create a. I should probably walk through the instructions that are here. Where is it? All right. Yep, sorry, we were here. Yep. And I thought there were screenshots in here, but...
there are further down.
Oh, right.
Screenshots.
No. Why is my screen not showing them? I don't know where the screenshots have gone. Never mind. So what you should have after this is in your own account, you will have in your list of projects now, you will have, I've got a couple of projects, and this is the master one, but this is my copy. So if you want to go into that, that would be great. What I tend to do is mirror this, make this repository mirror the main one. And what that does, it means if any time the manual changes, then your copy will be kept up to date. And I think, Carolyn, you might do it slightly differently, but so has everyone on their own copy of the Koha manual? And how are you, Debbie? You've got that?
Look, I'm going to be a pain, aren't I?
No, the whole idea is to get the...
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind?
What about you with your work? Should I come to you?
Well, yeah, because we've got Kaz.
Yes.
And then you know, but Alex will train us.
I was going to try and have the webcam going so you could see everyone working away. Maybe we'll try and take a photo later. Yeah, so to set up mirroring, you go down to the settings on the left-hand side, and GitLab often moves things around, so which is fun. So we want, better make sure I'm on the right one. No, that's the wrong one. So we want repository, settings, then repository, and then mirrored repositories.
I can't see things, I don't see.
On the.
Oh, right. So on your fork, right down the left-hand side, there's so for people watching, and we're just working through this setup. So yeah, this isn't quite working as a live stream as I planned, but it's great to have Carolyn and everyone else. It feels like God talking, the voice from above talking to us. So cool. And then from the editing the manual page, well, sorry, you should be able to copy the URL for the GitLab repository, the main GitLab repository. And then you basically just paste that in there, and you want pull, and I can't remember actually putting anything in the password bit, and then write your own name. I think if you click on the drop down list, does it come up with your own name? Yeah, cool. Cool. And then I think the defaults are fine. So if they've come up with the defaults of those two bits here, then you can click mirror repository.
You can see paste the URL. Oh, there it is.
So we've got a copy of the Koha Community. Now we're doing this all so this one is automatically updated with changes made to the master tools, but it pulls it out. But I don't know if that master needs to be sure, because that's how we call them.
But what is these settings don't get in the repository what we want. So we want to copy the URL.
Well, at least we know, but I figured out what the problem was. It wasn't letting me log in. So I had to reset the password and then I reset it.
That whole option, so that's fine. And password fine. You want to just write in the password here, which is what you're going to do.
So that's your GitLab account. You just created. Yep, and then you want to put.
I did it, and it says the project is being updated, so I'm hoping that means that it's working now.
So ladies, all right.
So we have those two checkboxes checked?
Yeah, I think it says successfully updated and it's being updated, but at least that means.
That means it's worked.
Yes, so you can click mirror and we'll
And
see
then
if
just
yours
put mirror repository.
Cool mirroring updated just now. Oh, that's cool.
That's a little message at the top.
Brilliant.
What I was.
So you can go back to the page and click on the thing there.
Yeah.
And then you'll see mirroring updated just now. So it'll say like how long ago it
Cool.
updated the.
Right. So everyone in the room has got that working, so that's great. Now the danger of having too many tabs open is that I don't particularly want to edit the main repository, but it's not normally an issue for yourselves. So the next bit is to try and get familiar with the structure of the manual. So has anyone actually used the manual in their day-to-day job? Cool. So if you on here, if we'll have a look at the manual, and I haven't set up a tab with that on. I'll do another one. Yeah. And a Google search normally gets you the manual reasonably well. Now, we've changed the look of it for the 2011. So, and there's a few things to improve, but yeah, we're getting there. So it's basically organized around the mod. At the moment, it's organized around the modules in Koha. So you've got stuff to do with tools or circulation or cataloging, and so yeah, they're quite. Some of them are quite large chapters, but anyway. So how it's mirrored in the repository is if you go to the files you have to worry about editing here are public. They're in this. Oh, sorry. So for this repository, if you're under files, repository then files, that'll give you the list of all the files that are in this repository. And then there's a direct one-to-one relationship between, well, there was. Where have I gone?
I think
Sorry.
it's source, no?
Sorry, source.
It's not
Yeah.
source?
I should know that by now. So source, sorry. Yeah. And so every single page that's on the manual will have a page here. So if we look at the About page, now not all pages render very nicely in GitLab. Once they get to a certain size, it doesn't display them, and it displays the markup. Yeah. So I'm not going to do this right now, but if you just want to edit one page and you've spotted a spelling mistake, then we can just go. Well, we're not going to do this quite right and exactly this way right at the moment. But if I go edit, you get the markup that's been looks pretty terrible on the screen. But the easiest way to we use everyone's heard of HTML and markup languages. I hope, and people have probably heard of Markdown, which is just having text files with some really simple markup. We use restructured text, and so there's not a huge amount of codes or things you have to learn. And you can probably just copy what's in there, but it's basically plain text with some headings and bullet points and a few other things, which I'm oversimplifying it, but looking at this page, there's About Koha is just a sentence. We've got a bullet point, and these things here are the equivalent of bookmarks or tags to say that this is a place to go in the page. And we use some characters for different heading levels. So that's about as complicated as it gets, really. Yeah. So this, if I was editing this page, I could make the changes now, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. And that's if you want to do. If you go away from it, you'll lose all your work. Yeah. And then the second way is to use the web IDE. And the advantage of this is it lets you edit multiple pages. So for example, if there's something needs to be updated and it's mentioned various places, you don't have to do a separate change for each one. You can just edit them all. And with repositories, you basically commit, which is basically say, I'm going to save these changes, and that keeps all those changes together. Not describing Git very well here, but it's basically a way of saying, yep, these changes are all good, and I'm going to put them through so that they can be reviewed and incorporated into the manual. I guess the next question, so basically there's a file for each page in the manual. Yeah. So the next question is, well, how do I find something that I want to edit? And I should probably make sure I'm staying on track what I was going to talk about. Yeah, sort of. So yeah, how do I find out about what needs to be edited? So there's two places really, and I'm just trying to find which tab I'm not expecting you to know all these things. I've got some base. Well, I did have some, but we're going to just do a simple change and then get everyone to do a simple change and hopefully that, not the same one, but yeah, hopefully that will give you, at least work through a change. Right. And I've got a zillion open tabs. So there's one. So Koha uses Bugzilla to manage all the, keep track of all the changes required to Koha. So it might be a new feature like Alicia's recalls, which will get a totally new feature, or it might be an enhancement. Someone's maybe said, I want circulation to work a bit differently, and it's always fun, I think, from my observation of people trying to play with circulation rules, or it might be changes to the UI or enhancing something that's already in Koha. And then there's bugs, which are things that aren't working. So, you click on something and there's an error message and it shouldn't do that, or it's not working as it's intended. So even though it's called Bug and Bugzilla, it's everything. It keeps track of every change. So there's an area for where people can submit manual changes in here. Now I'm not going to use these for today's exercise, and I'm not sure how up to date my list was, but we mainly use this other tool at the moment called Tega, and it lists. What Carolyn does is anything that's changed in Koha, she makes if you want to call it a documentation bug, and there's normally we would sign you up here in Tega, and we will certainly do that afterwards, but I think we can get away with not doing this. We can pick one from here. So for every, I'm going to just go into where's 2011. So, and Carolyn does a great job of tracking and adding all the things that we need to review and add things that need to be looked at to fix up the manual. And we've got quite a few of them, and we're not quite, yeah. So how this will work is it'll be the next version, which is 2011, and there's ones for the previous versions where we haven't managed to get those, see if there's any changes required and incorporate those in. And under each grouping, there'll be the bugs from, oh, that's not very clear there, but that one's been done. But every, this gives it a new task number, and it also gives it the Bugzilla bug, and then people can refer to that to say what's, yeah, there's a quick link here to this one to say, yep, this was the change that's been incorporated in, and then we need to review those to find out what documentation changes are required. Now, I'm going to cheat here, and this is a really simple change unless people have identified something that you want to do. One of the really easy, so there's some really basic beginner tasks. So we're still trying to change capitalization so that the sentences, headings are like in sentence case rather than capital case. They're still a bit mixed in the manual. So, that's an example of something simple that you might want to do. I'll come to the second one later about updating Bugzilla release notes. And I don't know whether this one has been done, but I think we're just going to stick for this one for the purpose of this exercise since we started a bit late. But then there's some intermediate tasks. So there might be a new system preference that's been added that's not in the humongous list of system preferences in the manual. There may be new features such as mana, the knowledge base, so they're a bit more complex to do. And then obviously rewriting sections because they're a bit out of date. So we're going to look at this one and we're going to see if we can find something for you to work on, and then we will work through doing that. So and I should have had this prepared, but never mind. So is it easier, would you prefer me to just work through one and then you yourselves do one yourself? Yep. We probably have to work on a different page, but so we will, I will do this one. Cool. So what I would do here, so I've got a zillion, too many tasks open. Right. Now, can anyone work out what chapter that is in? Global system preferences, local use. Okay, I probably picked a really bad one to do as an example. I'm supposed to be working on that one. The tools chapters seem to be a little bit easier to fix things up, so I'll pick one of those.
Quick question, David.
Yep.
For New Zealand, do we tend to use American spelling? Like, do we have the translations on the manual? Do we have different English ones, or just all one at one?
So at the moment, it's written in US English, so we have to pretend to be Americans, and Zs and Zs I think is a common one, and color and behavior. Yes. Yeah. And to be honest, the translation process is a mystery to me, but you can fix it up in that's probably a topic for another. It's a whole different thing, but basically you can go in and for the Maori I think there's one set up for Maori translation, and Carolyn works on the Canadian French translation, and various people work on the other languages. So yeah, it's always something that we feel like we're behind in. So cool. So I'm going to go and edit this page. I'm going to go and find it first. Yeah, I just have to, I'm going to close the so that was tools, and you can follow on if you like. You don't need to do that. Yep. So before I edit this page, what I will do for me is I don't want to affect my copy of the manual. I want that to match up with what's in the manual. So I would go into here on branches. Now, if you understand Git, this makes a bit more sense, but I am going to create a new branch. And that basically means if I screw it up, I can just ignore it all and go back to go back to it being good. So I'm going to call it, you can call branches any name you want. So I'm just going to call it, I would normally put whatever task it is. So this, in this case, it would be, no, it's not that one.
How do we join that tiger?
Yeah, there's not an easy way. So yeah, the question was around, can these joined up to Bugzilla, basically? Is that right?
Just how we join the team and the tiger.
Oh, right. I will send you a request to your email address, and that will send you you create an account on Tega, and yeah, we'll do this. Should probably do it now, but
I saw on the homepage of it says you can send an email to the admin of the site. Would it be useful just being like,
you can do that as well. Yes, you can initiate it, and it should come through, and we will do that. Yeah. So I would normally, when I'm doing, I'd normally put the Tega number, and that way I know which one it is. Yep. Cool. So that creates a temporary copy, and I can go in and now I'm not going to touch the main one. I'm just going to it's like I'm working in a draft area that no one else can see, and I can do that. Now we're only affecting one file, and I'm not going to fiddle with images, so I'm just going to go edit, and I'm just going to find a bit of the manual that this is about. And that's the whole tools one, isn't it? Yeah, sometimes it's not very descriptive about what we're trying to do. So I'll just fix a tiny bit of tools. So you should probably look at the manual and see on tools where it still needs to be fixed up. And hopefully there's still some left. Yeah. The easiest way to tell is normally these headings in the manual on here. Here we are. So I'm going to, the task scheduler, so you can see everything's in capital case, cool. So I'm going to go. Task scheduler. Cool. So now I can just edit this. Just pretend it's, if you're used to Windows, or it's just a basic text editor, basically, and I can go through and fix those up. And if I was writing a new section, I could just, and we tend to not put things in capitals like, spell them out in full. We're just going to say the task scheduler here. And sometimes these here this is describing an image, so I won't touch this for the moment. So this is a very simple change, and it's just, oh no, we're still in task scheduler. Yep, so this is, you can see there's a little bit of inconsistency in there because that one was right. Yeah, cool. And because this is just one change, and it's, here we are. Yep. So if you were using Word or a word processor, you would click save, and everyone would be happy. But Here we want to write, making a change, you have to put a commit message. So I like to put the title, and we've got some guidelines in how to edit the manual about making commit messages, but we don't tend to worry about it too much. So, but it's useful when you're looking at the list of changes to know what, yeah. So I'm just going to say fix capitalization for the task scheduler section. Cool, and then I'm going to commit those changes. And so what that means is I've saved it basically, and in my branch or my copy of the manual, that's in there now. So then the next question is, how do I get that into, send it through to Carolyn? Carolyn does most of the merge requests. How do I get it to Carolyn or myself so that we can review it and do it? So on the top right hand here, you've got create merge request. And this is going to say, hey, this is my copy of the manual here, and I want to send this to the main manual to say, please, I've done all this wonderful work and I would like to get it, do there. So there's not very much to complete. You should just be able to, Carolyn will tell me if I've done anything wrong, but I can just, the defaults, as long as you've got a nice message at the top, then just submitting the merge request will, yeah. Cool. And this isn't a very complicated change, but if, so what Carolyn or I see, or anyone else who can make, we control who can commit to the master version of the manual. So we'll get an email message saying, oh, someone has made some changes to the manual that they would like incorporated. And I can read the commit message. So if that's nice, I can understand what someone has done. And I know that what I've done, but maybe that might not make sense to someone else. And then for those who are used to coding in Koha, this is a diff, but it basically says, this is it's not very bright on our screen here, but the pink is what it is now, and then the green is what I've changed. And now I'm not going to commit. Should I commit this? I probably should, since I've done it, but I'll leave that till later. But so yeah, we can just, then we just approve it, and then it will end up in the manual. So after all of that, so basically you create the work. Editing the manual describes this workflow a little bit better. So I would read through that when you have a chance. But the basic idea is you create a branch for your changes so that it doesn't affect the main one. Then you find the files that you want to edit. You can either edit as if you're just touching a single page, is just edit. If you want to change multiple files, it's the web IDE. And then you write a commit message which says, this is what I've changed, and matching it up with Tega, our task management system, and then do a merge request, which basically tells the maintainers of the manual that you've submitted some changes that you would like reviewed and incorporated into the manual. When we press the button on merging your changes in, there's a process that runs almost straight away that will go and update the manual. But I'm not going to do that at the same time. I'm not going to do this quite at this time. Have you got anything to add, Carolyn, about the easy way, or have I overcomplicated it?
No, I think it was very well explained.
Yeah.
It was better than what I could have done.
All right. We do have, there is a couple of videos, and the, I think it's the Koha US team did a couple of live changes. It probably would be easier to watch than this. So probably what we're going to do now is try and find some of those capitalizations to fix and get people to make a change. Is that okay? So it's going to be a bit boring for you if you're watching live, because there's not going to be too much to watch. So bear with us, and if you can think of anything to add, we will do that. So there's capitalization changes for most. Someone can do that same one if they wanted, the task scheduler. Would anyone like to do the tools chapter?
There's
So I'll just pick the chat.
I saw there was implementation checklist that was there was a lot of capital letters.
Okay.
If someone wants
Cool.
to do that one.
Who would like to do that one? Cool. So we've got Catherine's going to find that page and do that one.
So I'm happy to pick one I'm familiar with.
Yep. That's.
There's also
just going to
extending
try and-
cohabs if there's another person that wants to do that one.
Right. Who wants to do that one? What page was that?
Extending Koha.
Extending Koha. Okay. So Alex, not Alex. So we've got someone for that. Are you going to work on that together with Debbie, or do you want your own one? I think you should do your own one. Yep.
So we did it in the master branch if we're looking at a 2025, and if we're not looking at 2025, do we use the branch of stable branches?
I think it's safer to if you've set up the mirroring to create a branch from master. We are going to change the name. It's on my list of things to do to main rather than master. Yeah, I think it's easier to create a branch, and then you can, if you stuff it up, yeah.
It actually means about editing older versions, so not the current, not the 2011 manual, but like the 2005 or 1901. Because there are different branches, like manual 1905 is a branch.
Yep.
So if they wanted to edit that manual, then I guess you create a branch off of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question was, how do you edit the previous versions of the manual? So my answer to that would be, if it's the same, if it hasn't been what you wanting to work on hasn't been changed to those previous versions, which is highly likely, then make the change on master and say this needs to be updated in the previous, up to 2005 or whichever version. If it's already been updated or totally different, or it's a new feature, then you can select that branch of the manual, so like the 1911 version of the manual, and branch off that, and then that will come through. So what Carolyn, and not myself so much lately, will do is, there's an easy way to merge that in. It mostly works really easily, but sometimes it doesn't. So yeah.
That sounds close to what we did with development anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think we were trying to follow what happens with, how you backport patches from Koha20, master to the previous versions for those who maintain them. And we've got Alicia in the room who does that. So for which version are you maintaining? 1911.
And Haley was maintaining 1811 in the last release.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Excellent. Right, so we're trying to find some tasks for people, just the simple ones, and conscious of the time. So we will it was 485, wasn't it?
In the other chapters that still have
And then I'll come
capitals,
around and help if I can, but
there's course reserves also.
oh, cool. So would anyone like to do the course reserves one? So Haley's going to do that one. And I don't know why my internet is going really slow, but it is. Yeah.
Yeah, slow down. Quick question.
Yep.
For capitalization, in OBEX system preferences, are those always capitalized? So I wouldn't capitalize those, like extended patron attribute is a system preference name.
Yeah.
Are they normally capitalized within the system preference name?
Yeah, so system preferences, they do have the caps in them. So yeah, so yeah, proper words or the names of proper nouns, or you wouldn't change those, but just normal sentence case for normal phrases.
Just over the headings.
Cool. I'm happy if someone to look at installation, if they would. That's actually quite a big one. We don't have to do the whole lot. So would anyone like to look at installation? Yeah, and even if it's just a small section of it, it goes some way. It'll go some way to fixing that up. And
So what did I just do? Is that a system preference page?
it's very glary here. And Tosca. Sorry, I was just trying to find ones that hadn't been done, wasn't I? Losing track of already.
Maybe go to branches. It's probably
I've never done it, not in the terminal.
Well, that's not a very big one.
Maybe down here. I'm in the
I have so many copies open.
Cool. And Tosca, would you like to do web services? Because there's not too much in that chapter, and it's not a very big one, so that will work. So everyone's just working on this at the moment, and I'm going to go around and help if I can.
Yeah, okay. That's what I'm doing a lot of this. I didn't know the target number, so I just put it fixed capitalization. I think it's Caroline is coming. Yeah.
Yeah, so-
I was giving us all these references.
Yeah.
Did you get installation?
That's the. Yeah, it's more like, just so it doesn't rub you up the wrong way when you're reading it.
Well, some
I
people
guess
don't
it was
notice,
a
but
2011
it's just a minor thing to try and
Yeah, standardise.
standardize.
Place. I'm right.
And you're all right there?
Yeah, absolutely.
All the credit.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's not too complicated, but if you're familiar with Gibson's version controls,
Honestly, using it in the browser is like
I know.
more of the learning experience for us.
Yeah, we're so.
Oh, right, so maybe I should have done the Git
Oh, no,
copy.
this is,
No.
it's good to know.
It's more accessible for other people.
Yeah.
You guys don't usually do it. No, I normally use the
I actually
terminal.
code it so I can do it.
Yeah.
That's your norm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can either, so, yeah, we try to do this as the easy way because a lot of people aren't familiar with Git.
Totally.
But basically, instead of working, I should probably do it here so people can hear me. Everyone's busy working away. We do have quite a few people in the room who are familiar with Git, and doing this in the browsers the easiest way if you're not familiar with Git. But for those who are, having a local copy of the Koha repository and then using your whatever text editor you want to edit the pages is the other way. And so there's instructions in the guide, so editing the manual, and under editing the manual using a local repository. And we're also trying to write a easier to understand Git guide for the documentation repository. So it's still a work in progress. So, but it does set out the steps that are a bit easier to use if that's if you're familiar with Git.
That's located here. That's the name.
It's like a different to what you're familiar with Markdown, but it should be pretty straightforward. You just change it.
Yeah, just underlines and hashes. So yeah, web services is just change that to ease. We managed to create a branch. And yeah, I'm not sure. There's probably a few other changes. Maybe not.
Just wander through it.
That was a big change.
It is, yeah. One thing we did notice was that some places like here, we've got cover flow, which is capital X.
Yeah, I think
and
that's what I'm
so we're trying to do consistently.
Yeah.
But
You
then
can go down a bit of a rabbit hole.
you can, but this one was a lowercase c before, and cover flow was before capital C, capital E.
Yeah, so I would change it
To the same.
In the sentence.
So I would put it into sentence. It's just a cover for a plugin. I don't think it needs to be capitalized. So, there's so many of them too.
That's what I
Exactly.
We are talking about ones. So,
So like here as well.
yeah.
Something like that.
So yeah, you don't have to do the whole lot. You just have to do the section.
Yeah.
Yes. Or like.
You ready?
I think we've grouped most of them, we're just doing a double check in case we just do.
You can have a look at the manual page to see, do a search and case sensitive. I guess the main thing is we're trying, these are simple examples to fix up, but we're trying to keep it as consistent as possible. So consistency is better than, all over the place.
Yeah.
I have a question about the capitalization.
Yeah.
So we're wanting, when it's equivalent to do just the first word capitalized, and that's it. When it's in the paragraph and it's the name of the module, is that just both lowercase or still the first one? And of course reserves.
So the question was around referring to modules in the body of the content, I think. Yeah. So I don't tend to capitalize those. I'm not sure what. I think it's we're trying to write a style guide. I think in the past there's only been a few people editing, and maybe we haven't been as consistent as we should have been, but But we're trying to write a style guide to cover those things. But my strong preference is that it's sentence case. It's not the tools module or the cataloging module. You don't need to capitalize those things. So that's what I would do.
So if we're ready to commit the changes, we just click commit the changes and then just check, we get that chance to check them.
Such a speedy coder, Catherine.
Yeah, I'm done, I was just scanning one last time.
Yes,
So I do
so
that.
you have to complete this. I think.
So you want me to-
So I would just say update. Yeah,
Yeah, they should be.
I'll just say,
update the implementation.
oh yeah, sure.
Is there a
Running.
module or something?
Yeah.
I've already added the title.
I think
Yeah,
that
that-
content involved is like.
So I put that as the title.
Probably, yeah.
Actually,
It sounds
I
like
would-
a nice
I would just say,
I
I normally have the tag.
Oh.